ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Only Single Player Podcast. I'm Mike Casamano, your host. You may remember me from the now defunct Velocity Gamer podcast. I have with me
Hi, everybody. You may remember me from the... I was one of the original members of the Only Single Player podcast, and then I jumped ship over to Velocity Gamer, but now I'm back. So, yeah.
That's what happened. And then we have Charlie Jones also here. He's British, you guys.
Hi, chaps.
How's the fish?
Yeah, I'm a new guy. I'm a new guy here, and just thought, why not do the podcast? Have a bit of experience in podcasting.
Yeah,
so
we had a British guy last time,
yes,
too.
I am sick to death of editing.
He's no longer with us, but we had a British guy named Ben, and everybody, just with his accent, they were like, "You're Australian, right?" And he's like, No, I'm not. So, yeah.
We have too many.
Well, as long as you recognise my origin, I'm fine.
Right on.
Okay, so E3.
Hey,
yeah,
hey.
Monday,
right around the
I think.
corner.
Or actually, it begins Tuesday, but Sony has confirmed that they're going to be doing a press event Monday morning.
What are you guys hoping to see from E3? I mean, in general, like any big trends that you hope to see emerge, not just game announcements. We'll get to that.
I want more clarification on what's going on with the Xbox One. Because, Microsoft are batting all these ideas about making people pay for used games, and then they decided they're not going to do it, and now they've got some crazy system that they haven't explained yet, so I really want some confirmation on that. Because that will be what decides which console I get next.
I definitely agree. I think Microsoft needs to kind of clarify some of the things that they said, because as far as I could understand from their press event, it was just sports, TV sports, and everyone was like, where are the games? And I mean, I understand from a company standpoint, you kind of want to tease a little bit and lead into E3, but I think that Xbox kind of shot themselves in the foot, got off to the wrong start, and there was a lot of I mean, when you're when Sony's stock goes up and yours goes down, when 5 minutes after, after unveiling. But yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think that they need to not only show some games, but kind of be like, here's why you want to get an Xbox One. And like Charlie said, obviously some clarification, because there was mixed reports of, is there going to be a fee? Is there not going to be a fee? All these different questions for sure.
For a press release reveal of a new console, they didn't reveal a whole lot. So, we're just wanting all the discrepancies to be ironed out so we can have a clear, firm idea as to what is actually coming from the Xbox One.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But in all fairness, Microsoft lost me the moment Sony announced a new Infamous game. And I mean that semi-jokingly. Like, Sony went right out of the gate with the exclusives. They knew the market they wanted. They didn't try and be a jack of all trades. This is a video game machine. And with Microsoft, you see them... The first conference they had, they really went for the casual market. And then, while the press was there, they could have maybe smoothed things over by talking to them. But instead, they kind of let the message get away. There was no solid answer on used games, no solid answer on always-on connectivity. So by the end of that conference, the message was twofold. Number one, where are the games? Number two, oh my god, this system is going to screw me over so hard. So not only do they have to prove a lot to gamers at E3 in terms of what will be on the system, but they also have to clear up a lot of the things that should not have been a problem at that event. Like, they should have had a hard answer. Because it is possible that if Microsoft does not have an answer, that is not true. They just have the wrong answer, and they're saving that for the last minute. But in this age of hyperconnectivity and ubiquitous social media services, they really have no choice. Otherwise, people are just going to let this speculation get away from them. And then, there's going to be this narrative that will make their competitors look stronger. Like Brad mentioned, the Sony stock thing. That didn't have anything to do with Microsoft's conference, but it doesn't matter to the internet at large because they just see, oh, look, another way to make fun of Microsoft. And with the Wii U sales, I think that was probably connected, but it still adds to the overall story that Microsoft has really bungled this
No,
reveal.
absolutely, and I think part of the problem too isn't that not necessarily that Xbox or Microsoft, didn't really clarify things. I think it's people, and I'm guilty of this just as much as anybody else on the social media. But I mean, Twitter just exploded with, "Oh my God, what is this, and why are they doing this?" And for me, I'm not really a big sports guy, so I think that it's cool that someone who is into sports can do their fantasy league and watch a game and surf the internet, and that's kind of cool. But for me, it's I want. Right. Well, I mean,
have a phone.
Yeah, I mean, if I
do
want to
that on
watch
my
sports,
phone.
I can watch that on my TV that I actually do pay for, or I can stream it online. I don't really need an entertainment console to do that for me, and I certainly don't care about my fantasy league. But kudos to those that do. What I do care about, of course, is the games, and that's going to be what for me is important at E3. I mean, I would say before Microsoft even unveiled their console, I was kind of sitting on the fence. Like, yeah, I like the 360, and I had fun with it, and I wanted to see where they were going in the future. And right away, they came out saying, well, there was no real clarification as to what this was. Was this an entertainment console with games that's targeting a kind of casual market, or is this a console that's strictly with games, but is swaying more towards the entertainment side? So I think there was that confusion. And I think all those things will be answered at E3, but I still think majority of people have probably already made up their mind. The seed's been planted, and there's no changing it.
I agree that their focus, was kind of on the wrong ball. They were looking more at TV and social media-based hardware without looking at the games very much. But the games they did choose were some of the most repetitive franchises in history, which also was a big downer for them. They could have shown something new and interesting for us, like the little Quantum Break tease, but no, they decided to just show us a TV part of that and then end it there. So, really looking forward to seeing more of the kind of game content they're offering, because they didn't show us much of it at the reveal, which is a big problem if you're going to have a reveal, because you're not showing off the tech
first impressions are everything, and Microsoft did not. When I compare Microsoft's presentation to Sony, while Sony didn't show off the console itself, I assume we'll see that at E3, what they did talk about was, first off, they acknowledged their past mistakes. Okay, PS3, we screwed up, our bad. Here's why you want to get a PS4. This is, I couldn't really care less about, in terms of system specs, ooh, wow, it's got, this amount of RAM, whoopee-doo. But, when they were actually showing, and I mean no offense to any Sony listeners that, are listening in, but when they showed off some of the games, I was blown away. I was just like, oh my God, sign me up right now, give me the PS4, and I like some of the things that they're doing, unlike, with the Xbox, where they're like, oh, well, you can't play your 360 games, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. Sony says, well, you can play your PS1 and 2, 3 games. You have to do them from the cloud, which I kind of didn't really, but whatever. But for me, the biggest thing with Sony is the Vita. This thing's been out now, almost 2 years, and there hasn't really been a lot of support for it, although they say that they're trying to incorporate cross-play, and I think I read a report, it might have been just a rumor, but it was that basically Sony was telling developers, if you develop a game for us, you need to make some form of cross-play involved in that game so we can get people using their Vita more. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but...
So,
I think
going back to the Vita for a second, this is another part of how Sony has been able to kind of take over the next generation message for quite a while. Recently, with the announcement of Limbo, Hotline Miami, and Spelunky coming to the Vita has kind of become this handheld indie machine. And then Sony has went to GDC and talked to all these indie people, and they're allowing self-publishing. They really want to be friendly to the smaller developers, and that's something Microsoft just isn't doing. That's another way that Sony has been able to sort of get out there and make themselves seem superior to Microsoft in some way, and Microsoft just hasn't been able to compete with that because of their internal policies. There's nothing that they can say they're doing that gamers that would compete with Sony. The Kinect is always watching you. That's not something you can really sell to a gamer.
I agree, because I think that what Sony have done already that's really effective is, like you said, they're appealing to kind of the indie service, and the PlayStation 4 is going to have a dedicated service to indie developers, and the Vita's getting all this support. And, in some ways, indie developing for games is kind of the future, because they're the guys coming up with a lot of new ideas, as good as the ideas that are coming out, in the mainline, mainstream console developers.
You look at, too, at the PS4, like, one of the things that they said was Sony came out and said, well, we went to gamers and said, what do you want to see in the console? We went to developers and said, what do you want to see in the console? So, it was kind of rewarding in the sense that the PlayStation 4 is not only designed for entertainment purposes for gamers, but the same sense, there's that breathing room for developers. So whether that is trying to, it sounds to me like Sony is basically saying, hey, we want you to develop for us. So here you go. Where Microsoft, again, there's that confusion of, even some developers were tweeting with Microsoft press conference kind of like, WTF. Like, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it is very difficult to kind of get a handle on what Microsoft wants their console to be. It reminds me a lot of Sony coming out of the PS2, where they thought they could get away with a murder. They got up on that stage and said $599, and they really got kind of screwed over with the PS3. Although it did eventually improve with a stronger library of games, they got the PlayStation Plus, which is a great value. There's a lot more indie stuff on that machine compared to Microsoft's arcade program. So Sony was able to fix their mistake. It was simply a matter of price and availability of software. With Microsoft, there's a lot wrong with the Xbox One that's like at the fundamental design level. Like, it's not something you can smooth over. So I just want to know what they have to counter that. And E3 is their one chance to fix all of that, because after E3, if they hold another conference, they look
absolutely.
desperate.
I think this is definitely going to be one of the bigger E3s that we've seen in a while, because we're now into the next gen. Sony and Microsoft are now finally caught up, and I kind of love it being. And I can admit that I am a Nintendo fanboy. It was the first console I got, and I love how Nintendo is just sitting back and they're just watching this unfold. Now, people can say, well, the Wii U's been out now since November, and they don't really have a lot of games. And I say, hang on, it's coming. The one thing that I'm looking forward to is what Nintendo's going to do. Are they going to be able to compete with a powerful PS4 and Xbox One? Probably not. But they're a company that isn't really entertainment-wise. They're gaming. So we're going to get the Marios and the Zeldas and all those other games, and a strong 3DS lineup. But I just kind of find it funny that these two are squabbling back and forth, kind of like siblings. Xbox and Sony. Just when anything you can do, I can do better. And Nintendo's just, basically they have all the cards. They're sitting there, especially after Microsoft's press conference. So many tweets I read from our listeners were saying, well, I guess I should get a Wii U now. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, exactly. I guess in terms of lighter E3 speculation, not all doom and gloom, are there any dream games you'd like to see announced at E3, and any games that you are realistically expecting to get announced at E3? I guess we'll start with Brad.
Right. Well, I would love Valve to acknowledge that Half-Life 3 is being developed, but my theory has always been with Half-Life 3 is that if the engine's not ready that they're developing, then it's probably not going to be announced. And for all I know, they might not even be working on it. I don't know. But in terms of games that I'd really like to see, I want to know what Square's up to. With their Sony, they came out and said, oh, well, we have an announcement, but hang on, you're going to have to wait till E3 for it. So in that sense, I really hope it's Final Fantasy 15. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I was very disappointed with 13. 13.2 was okay. 14, I know, is coming soon. The reboot of 14, because the first version flopped horribly. So we'll see. I'm hoping it's a proper reboot. The other games I'm looking forward to, I want to know what Retro Studios is doing. For those who don't know, Retro Studios, they made the Metroid Prime games for GameCube way back in the day. It was, pretty much designed the HUD system that 343 is using, as well as they did the Mario Kart series for the 3DS. So, should be good. And then I guess the other big game I'm wanting to hear from is what I can't even think of the company name now. Oh yeah, Bethesda. What are they doing? Because there's been talks about this. Is it a new Fallout game? Is it a new IP? Is it? So they've been teasing a little bit, and hopefully we'll get some answers at E3.
Speaking of Bethesda, I guess my ideal pick would be a Fallout 4. I've been replaying New Vegas recently, and that game has some problems. I'd like to see like the Skyrim engine and sort of the advancements made in that game put into the Fallout games. Kind of like how the advancements you saw in Fallout 3 and New Vegas helped create Skyrim. But I think realistically, we're going to see Star Wars 1313. EA is going to announce that. And maybe an Old Republic expansion. I don't really know. I think this E3 it's going to be mostly about the hardware. Maybe we see Banjo-Kazooie 4.
I think that'd be a long shot.
I think if Rare is going to bring back a franchise, and if Microsoft wants to start turning some heads, maybe Banjo 4. Like I didn't really expect nuts and bolts to exist.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I do know that Microsoft
anyway.
has said that they are showing off 15 titles, 8 of which are exclusive new IPs. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. What do you think, Charlie? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, what am I looking forward to? Well, like you guys, would love a new Fallout. Absolutely loved Fallout 3. New Vegas was all right, but Bethesda's a really cool company. I like to see what they're working on. So, Fallout or not, I'll be interested to see what they're doing. In terms of EA, Star Wars Battlefront 3, I really want to see Star Wars Battlefront 3. Love the first two and love Star Wars as a franchise, so it only makes sense. And the fans have been clamoring for this one for a while, so fingers crossed that's what they're going to show. In terms of stuff that we know is going to be shown, looking forward to more Blacklist gameplay, because Splinter Cell's a really good stealth franchise, and it's interesting to see how they're going into kind of trying to equalize the balance of stealth and action in that, so that'll be quite cool to see more stuff that they've got to offer. And I guess as well, I'm kind of interested to see Assassin's Creed 4, not because I'm a great Assassin's Creed fan, just because it's gone really far from its original roots, and I just want to see, the kind of stuff that they're going on to do, and if it's a possible future for the Assassin's Creed franchise to go back to its original state, or if it's just going to keep progressing into this free roam kind of pirate franchise. Pirate's the only word that comes to mind.
If you look at the Assassin's Creed franchise, it's kind of strayed away from what it was. The first game definitely did have that kind of stealth-like feel to it. And then I think it was Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, it was kind of like, it had the stealth elements and the assassination elements, but it was, hang on a second, you need to, upgrade your buildings and do this and micromanage. And I was like, well, wait a minute, am I playing, Assassin's Creed, or am I playing, Assassin's Creed Tycoon? Like, what's going on here? I do know that I've read multiple stories that has said, and I don't know the exact quote, but Ubisoft was basically saying that the Assassin's Creed Pirates, as we'll call it, is going to have an HBO feel to it, and it's not going to be for kids. So, it's not going to be just, walk the plank. No, there's going to be probably raping, pillaging, murdering, the whole kit and caboodle. So I'm looking forward to it, but like you, I wonder, will they go back to their roots, and where are they going to fit this in, with the storyline? Because, we kind of we got some closure with Assassin's Creed 3. I don't want to spoil anything if anybody hasn't played the game already, to any of our listeners, but
Assassin's Creed 3 is not a very good game.
Talking about the HBO kind of feel, I read somewhere that the story is going to be based on the main character's romance with another character, and it won't be PG-13.
I'm
so,
M-rated game for sure.
All right, so I guess that's E3. We don't really have much to go on because we didn't go to Judges Week because none of us can afford it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my press pass this year. Maybe next year. I'll have to talk to Nick about that
Yeah.
one.
I don't know if Lucy is going to E3 proper or
Probably not. If she does, well, I mean, she went last year, but I don't know how much she's going to be covering this year for us. Lucy's one of our editors for those that are new to OnlySP. So she's probably going to be trying to get some interviews. I know she's probably going to go to one of the after parties. Usually, Microsoft or Sony throws an after party on the first night, and apparently, it's pretty good. So, from what I've heard, anyway.
I'm gonna ask her to stuff all the shrimp she can find into some kind of box and then mail it to me.
I told her if she gets like a free
The type of
T-shirt,
shrimp is
one of
irrelevant?
those booth babes I was just like, give me some swag. Last year they had the P4 Arena shirts. Unfortunately, I wasn't. My buddy wasn't able to get any because they were gone by the time he got there. But that would have been awesome. So we'll see.
Preferably coconut shrimp. If she can find some way to keep it from going bad, that would be great, really. But I'll take what I can get in terms of boxed
Certainly.
E3 shrimp.
And the
So what have you been playing, guys?
I've been. I
terms
picked
of
up
video games.
Donkey Kong Country Returns for the 3DS. For anybody who did not play it on the Wii version, I played the Wii version, but it was available on the Wii. It's actually pretty much the same game with some changes. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a recommendation if you've never played it before. Pick it up. Very challenging, very frustrating. I've rage quit a couple times already. You can play with friends online, so someone can be Diddy or Donkey or whatever, whatever you want to be. I'm picking up Animal Crossing, obviously. Like I said, I'm a Nintendo fanboy, so Animal Crossing. And my roommate, he picked up Remember Me, and fortunately he wasn't too happy with that. I think we have a review for it. I'm not sure, or someone's reviewing. But anyway, it didn't get very good marks. So that's what I've been playing.
Yeah, I didn't really hear anything too spectacular about it. Maybe I'll play it at some point, but I'm not.
I kind of
super
want to play it
enthused.
just because of the slick sci-fi art design of the world. It looks really intriguing to me, but I watched the enemies trailer not long ago, and those are some really generic enemies, which is very disappointing in a game based around action gameplay, because you want fresh, new, exciting guys to fight with, special powers and stuff that'll provide a challenge, and they just look like a load of jobbers, to be honest.
Charlie, have you played any video games?
I've played quite a few video games, because I downloaded the Indie Humble Bundle Indie Thingy 8, and
Did you
also
get it
got a
before or after
Groupies
they added
bundle.
all those games?
I got it when Hotline Miami was up, because Hotline
That is a
Miami
great
looked
game,
fantastic. And it is fantastic, yeah. I can't describe how much I like Hotline Miami. The gameplay is very smooth, satisfying, and even though it's tricky, personally I don't really get angry or rage quitty when I die loads. It makes me want to, think about what I'm doing and stop and plan tactically my next move. So I don't want to say it's a thinking man's game and make myself look like a big-headed fool, but it requires some patience and
No, that's
off
actually
some
pretty
tactics.
spot on. I guess it depends on the type of game you're playing too. For the rage quit, like I don't normally rage quit, but
Yeah.
like I said with Donkey Kong, it gets frustrating. But yeah, no, absolutely.
Some
But,
games are too much.
Yeah, that's definitely a bundle that's worth picking up, especially now. Yeah, absolutely.
Such good value. All those games together cost way more than they are in the bundle, so go and grab
Yeah,
it as
absolutely.
quickly as you can, I say.
I've been playing some Grand Theft Auto 4 as research for an editorial I'm doing about why Sleeping Dogs is the best open world crime game, but I can't really make that call until I play Grand Theft Auto 4. So far it has not done anything to dissuade my opinion. Everything handles very poorly. Like, it's very hard to play that game. Nico gets caught on doors all the time. He kind of handles like a drunk tank. The cars, it feels like they have 1,000 bodies in the trunk, which is, I don't know. usually what happens in those games, but it makes it very hard to drive and very hard to chase characters. So anytime there's chasing involved, it's just this horrible nightmare. The shooting's not that great, so there aren't very many mission structures that I enjoy, which is a shame because the story and the writing are so good. Like, Rockstar employs some of the best writers in this industry, and it's a shame they're married to these anachronistic gaming design.
Oh, absolutely.
forms.
I mean, I enjoyed Grand Theft Auto 4 in terms of the story, although I feel like some of the missions, because I've played previous Grand Theft Auto games, and the missions become tedious. Go follow this person, go kill this person, stop this drug dealer, blah blah blah. Which is fine, but yeah, some of the controls, like the driving, the shooting, even just walking around the city, which is disappointing because I know with Grand Theft Auto 5 coming out this fall, I'm kind of on the fence about it. And that's just because of my experience with Grand Theft Auto 4. And my worry is that, I'm going, while the story might be great for Grand Theft Auto 5, I might just, who's to say it's not going to be, the same lackluster controls that the GTA 4 had. But I don't know. I might give it a shot. We'll see.
As long as they don't bring back those absolutely terrible fist fight controls.
Oh, they were horrible.
They were so bad.
That's why I just pulled out a shotgun when I was supposed to fight somebody.
The moment I got into my first fist fight on that game, it was so tedious, dull, sluggish. I was just like, nope, and switched off my console because it didn't feel like anyone had put much time into making that a smooth part of the game. Instead, they left it rough and unfinished.
Well, if we're going back to E3 stuff for a second, I would like to see a Red Dead 2 announced.
Yeah, it'll be...
Technically, that would be Red Dead 3.
Yeah.
Because,
you know what I mean.
Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption.
It will definitely be interesting to see what Rockstar's next project is, because we know, obviously, with Grand Theft Auto 5 coming in the fall, it's done. So, yeah. I mean, I'd like to see something, not necessarily like an LA Noire 2, but more so that kind of style of... because it almost felt like an adventure game in a sense, even though it was kind of a GTA style meets, I don't know, I guess a detective style game. I don't know. I really liked it, so we'll see what Rockstar's next project is. But I don't know if they'll probably show it anything at E3. They might wait a bit. I don't know.
Rockstar
I don't
attending
think
E3,
they are.
they?
I don't think there would be a reason, unless they want GTA 5 to be on the floor, playable for all the journalists to check out. But I don't think they're going.
I think it might be a new title they might be announcing, because if you think about all the franchises that they've got, Manhunt is kind of a big no-no right now. And then GTA, they've got a new one coming out, LA Noire. Plausible for a sequel, but I don't really see it happening.
LA Noire is
soon.
never going to get a sequel.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't want like a direct sequel, but like just that style of game.
Yeah, a continuation of the events of the world, perhaps. And I definitely don't see another Max Payne coming anytime soon. So I kind of think it might be a new thing.
I'm sure whatever it will be really well written, but the controls will be the worst thing ever created by a human.
Well, the Max Payne 3 controls were actually pretty good, but Red Dead's controls were a bit awkward. Same with GTA.
Max Payne
same
was
with LA
them
Noire,
inheriting
really.
a franchise, though.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
With
They
Max
did a good
Payne,
job, though.
You hit the left trigger to shoot, and then you hit the left trigger to aim and the right trigger to shoot. Like, that is a shooter. There's not as much... They don't need to cram a whole lot of other things in there. Like, you don't need to have a button for your phone. You don't need to have a button to, like, flag a taxi or whatever. You just need to have the shooting button and then the one that reloads your death stick. So, they don't really...
You need diving. You need shoot dodging in Max Payne.
Right.
They had the bullet time or whatever it was they called it.
I can't talk. I just can't express how much I loved Max Payne 3. Big Max Payne fan, and they did it justice.
Unlike the movie.
Dan Houser, brilliant writer. Oh, don't even start. Don't even start on the movie.
Don't.
I will go
It's-
insane.
But like Mark Wahlberg
You know,
playing
the-
Max Payne,
I
there's
don't-
nothing
yeah, I mean-
wrong with that.
It may as well just not be called Max Payne. It pretty much has nothing
I
to do
give
with the game.
Hollywood credit for trying
Right.
to make these video game movies or these adaptations, I guess, but it doesn't work.
Look on the bright side. At least
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
U-Ball.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess my favorite, Mortal Kombat was probably pretty good as a video game movie adaptation, but most of them are pretty bad. So Max Payne was.
Yeah.
I get what they were trying to do with it, but and Mark Wahlberg, he tried, but it wasn't. It's a pass. Don't even bother. Don't rent it. Don't download it. Just it doesn't exist.
Instant pass. Don't even question the fact that it's a pass. Just pass
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I mean, if you really want to watch it, go ahead, but don't. I told you so.
Recommend not. Yeah.
We don't have any listeners.
No, considering this is the first episode,
Oh,
we probably
okay,
don't.
so- While we're waiting on maybe some listener questions to come in, there's some news regarding Deus Ex: The Fall.
Yes,
a
I
mobile
read about
game.
that earlier
Oh,
today.
yeah.
I don't understand why they would do that, but at the same time, no, that's not true. I understand why they would do that. Money. I don't understand why there is not simultaneously some kind of Deus Ex game coming to, like, being developed for consoles. Like with Firaxis, I can understand their move to mobile, because that's a studio that occasionally puts out a game every so often, makes a ton of money off of it, and then just slinks back in the shadows to make the next big thing. With like Eidos Montreal, or like Eidos in general, is Eidos Montreal is that just the one Eidos? Because I could have sworn there was more Eidoses.
I think there's more.
there's
That's the only
more.
one that I'm aware of. But yeah, I don't know.
Still, I'm not surprised.
Off the top of my head, I remember more.
I'm surprised there's not some kind of Deus Ex thing being made for the next hardware generation. Like, maybe there is, and it just hasn't been announced yet because it's really early. But it's an odd move. I don't really see how the Deus Ex games could work on a tablet.
I'm not sure. I'm not much of a tablet gamer. I know a couple of my friends. They have iPads or whatever, and I think BlackBerry had the playbook or whatever. But so I know that on occasion they'll play a couple of games. Like, but I mean, I guess it's more from if you look at it from a company standpoint. Obviously, yeah, it is a bit of a cash grab for them, but at the same time, gaming isn't just console based now. We see people playing on their phones. We see people playing on their tablets. So perhaps they thought that there would be a market for it. Not sure. So perhaps if it does work, maybe more companies will start doing this. I really don't know because I'm not a tablet gamer. But I mean, kudos. Hey, if it works and you're branching out to more people, then obviously you're making you're doing something right.
I think you're right in saying that they're kind of trying to spread their wings as to where they can build a strong fan base that will buy their stuff. I definitely think that they're trying to cash in on the mobile scene because a lot of other developers are starting to do that now. I think the developer behind XCOM has now confirmed they're going to be doing a tablet version of every console game they make, so I can kind of see there's a little shift at the moment going towards consulting tablet gamers as well as console and PC gamers. So we could be witnessing kind of a stretch of the future, but we'll have to see if it works out or not, because if it doesn't work out, obviously it's not going to continue.
Absolutely. I think it's again, like I said, it's an experimental, but I think it's something that's going to work just because we're seeing more and more people using their tablets for games. I mean, you're seeing a lot of even indie companies when they release, let's say, a game for the PSN or what is it, Xbox Live Arcade or whatever. They'll say, oh, it's available on iPhone Android and et cetera, et cetera. So again, like I said, if it helps get their name out there, then go for it.
The other big story of this week was Harmonix teaming up with Disney for Fantasia Music Evolved. And I really like Harmonix as a studio, but I don't like the Kinect.
I don't like
Dance
it either.
Central was fine, but
especially with the whole
like
Big Brother's watching you kind of thing. I'm sorry, Brad. Yeah, like Xbox. I want to watch Netflix. I'm sorry, Brad. You can't do that.
the ultimate irony is if you were trying to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey
well,
on Netflix.
I mean, like when they say that that Kinect now recognizes your moods, like if you're happy, you're sad, you're angry. Like I just find that kind of creepy. But hey, I mean, kudos to Harmonix for trying to incorporate obviously the technology.
It strikes me less as like a dumb marketing thing and more of a thing they wanted to make. Kind of like the Beatles Rock Band.
Yeah, I think, in terms of the Beatles Rock Band, I think that was obviously aimed at a particular set of people, and I think Harmonix is doing the same kind of thing. That being said, they are a pretty good company. They got, some good people over there. So again, like I said, I think it's just them trying to maybe push more people to using Kinect, but besides playing golf with my buddies on it one time, I don't really like the Kinect all that much, or the Move for that matter.
I generally don't want motion control in my games. Keep motion control out. It's just a gimmick. Focus on stuff in the actual games more.
Yeah, I mean, like when you start taking the controller away from the player, that's a problem. I mean, I don't mind it. Like, for example, on the 3DS, whatever, if you get the Star Fox game, you can use the gyro sensor controls, so you can use, you can move it around. That's kind of cool, although you have the option of turning it off. But when you make a game, I guess like what Harmonix is doing, or even like how Xbox One is pretty much saying, well, the Kinect is pretty much mandatory. I have a problem with that, just because I don't feel like majority of people want to get off the couch and interact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cool, but I'll take a controller over motion any day.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Like Rock Band Blitz, that was really good. You didn't need peripherals, you didn't need a Kinect, you just
exactly,
needed to hit some
right?
buttons.
I mean, even with when they brought out even Rock Band, you just brought, hey guys, playing Rock Band, let's come over and jam. Okay, cool.
Rock Band isn't always
well, exactly,
watching.
or even like back in the day with DDR, we just had the dance mats. That was cool. Now all these dance games, it's like, oh well, you gotta hold the controller in your hand a proper way, or you gotta get off the couch, and I mean that's cool that it's an exercise thing. I know my sister really likes it, and it's good cardio workout and stuff. But come on, I mean, no thanks.
It's like now I can't do anything on that couch. Like I could do whatever I wanted on a couch, like in front of a DDR pad, without feeling like a terrible human being. Now the Kinect's just watching me.
Exactly.
Always.
I mean, if I want to work out, I'm going to go to the
judging.
gym, and I get some, why some people would probably buy an exercise game and work out at home, and I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong, but I just think it's kind of creepy when you're working out and this little tiny camera is just watching you.
And like not only that, but the Xbox One is going to be expensive. Crazy expensive. And like even with the subsidized pricing thing that will assuredly be on the next Xbox model, it's still going to throw a lot of people for a loop. Like there's going to be the SKU where you can just like get it unlocked for $600, but if you want to spend $200 and maybe you'll pay $1,000 over the course of 2 years, but you only have to pay $200 now, that might hook.
I agree. People, I think the pricing, if we're going back to the two consoles, I think with the PS4 and the Xbox One, they have to price them competitively because we know that Nintendo may in fact drop their price or obviously compete with that, but at the same time, you're probably looking at anywhere between $400 to $600 for these consoles. I mean, I could be wrong. They could come out and say, "Oh, well, it's only $299 or $399 or whatever," but. And then, I mean, to touch up on your point, I mean, there's probably going to be two versions. Like, oh, well, you can buy the console full for $599, Or, we'll give it to you for $2.99, but, here's the catch. We're going to lock you into an Xbox Live contract for X amount of months, and so, which kind of sucks from a consumer standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had something to say. No, I've forgotten what it was.
Was it a phone analogy? Because that's what I was about to make.
No, I can't say it was that, no.
Because, my phone is technically a subsidized pricing model, but I was always going to buy a phone. There isn't... With this phone, it's $300 up front, and then I don't know how much every month, but it can do a lot of things. It's a very useful tool. With my Xbox One, it sits in front of my TV, and sometimes, since it's HDMI only, it has to be hooked up to the main living room TV. And then maybe if my family wants to let me use my new Xbox, then I can play it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think sort of the prices are really high, but I also appreciate that Microsoft, I don't know if Sony's doing this, but Microsoft wants to continue support for the 360 for at least 2 years. So that kind of gives people like me, who don't have as much money, time to stick with the same system and wait and see if the price is going to lower and by how much, and if that convinces me to buy the Xbox One. Because at the moment, I don't think a lot of people are going to be buying it on release, looking at the
for sure.
record
it would
of its
depend
popularity.
on launch titles too, and if you can look at any console over the last, let's say, 10 years, or I guess the last generation, the launch titles were not all that great. I could understand maybe from a company standpoint why you would price it really high, because obviously you want to make up, you want to make money during the holiday season, because people are going to want to buy the system for their kids, blah blah blah. But I think, well, in terms of support, Sony a couple years ago said, well, they have a 10-year plan with the PS3. So assuming, obviously PS3 came out in 2006, so 10 years, I would think that, and look how long they supported the PS2. So PS3 will probably be, I would say, probably supported for the next couple of years. And it's good that Microsoft's doing that, because I think a lot of people, I know myself, I'm probably going to get a PS4 just because I am excited about some of the launch titles and I am excited about the system. But like you said, Charlie, with the Xbox One, I'm kind of... The presentation left a sour taste in my mouth, and although the games might be cool, I'm kind of hesitant. What's the price going to be? Is it really worth getting one? Because we're in an era now, and a lot of console gamers are doing this. It's kind of, well, why should I get a console when I can play this game on my computer that I can upgrade for less, or roughly the same amount that you would want me to spend on an Xbox One?
That is exactly what I was about to say.
So, because all the PC people are like, oh, PC game, PC Master Race, and I'm like, well, I agree with you. I agree. For example, when Skyrim came out, everyone was like, well, why are you going to get it on console when you can get it on PC and you can mod it and it looks better? But, not everybody can afford a $800 or $1,000, gaming PC. So it was cheaper, to get a 360. Well, now we're in a day and age where Microsoft might come out and say, well, our console's like $599. Well, really? For like $600, I can get myself like a nice gaming laptop, or like, at least a decent PC that can run the game that you probably have 10 times better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the PlayStation in this generation was kind of the exclusives console. And then you have the Xbox, which is the core console, and then the PC, which is obviously, the superior system. And I think that probably now it's going to end up with both the Xbox and the PlayStation possibly becoming exclusives, and the PC being the core system as well as superior. It's something we've got to prepare for at some point, because the PC, is constantly getting stronger and more powerful, whereas consoles are obviously limited to the amount of tech they have at that generation.
Well, I guess let me pose this question to our viewers and maybe you guys as well. Do you think that this next gen that we've now are entering will be the last gen for consoles? Because there have been tons of people speculating that this will be it, that 6 years from now or 10 years from now, everything's going to be on the cloud and everything's, that there won't be an Xbox 2 or a PS5 or whatever. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I
definitely think it's winding down.
Yeah, this might be the last one. No, I don't think this is going to be the last one. I think this is going to be, depending on how this generation goes, this could be the penultimate console generation.
I agree. I think that at the moment, even the PlayStation, I guess, is kind of struggling to compete with the PC, because the PC's got a lot more on offer, and because especially since when I started gaming, there weren't that many PC gamers, and now I've seen continually with each year a rise in PC gamers. It's just going up and up and up. So I don't think that's going to stop going up. I don't think there will be a decline, and I definitely think that the consoles will either die out very soon or definitely over the period of maybe 10 to 15
absolutely.
years.
I feel like
less.
they're not going to go away just yet. I feel like that. Part of me feels like this gen might be the last, and I only say that because you look at services like Steam, for example, and a lot of other companies are kind of jumping on board, where it's easier just to get a gaming computer, sign up for a service like Steam, and then pay money and then just, download the game, as opposed to, going to a Best Buy or a GameStop or whatever. And from a distribution standpoint, I would think, and I don't really have a lot of knowledge about this, so to those people that are listening in, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that it would be cheaper from say I worked for, I don't know, let's say I'm with EA or Ubisoft, that it would be cheaper for me to distribute my game through a service like Steam or a service like Origins or Origin or whatever, than to have to produce thousands of copies and then distribute them that way. I might be wrong though. I don't know if that's true or not, but to me it sounds like it would be cheaper as a marketing, to market a product via the cloud or whatever you want to, Steam, like I said, than to actually create a, I don't know, working copy, I guess.
Right. As a guy who has recently just dropped a ton of money into a gaming PC, I can definitely say that the way this past generation is sort of winded down, and the way this next generation is looking, that was a big factor in my decision. I do want to have all platforms so I can review all the games, but it's also when this thing inevitably crashes and collapses under its own bloated weight, I'll have this indie machine, and it can play all the indie games at the highest frame rates because the smaller studios aren't packing their games full of crap. So it won't be that hard to run visually, and eventually even people on regular old laptops will be able to run those games. Hotline Miami shouldn't be that difficult
I agree.
to run.
I think one of the big questions too, developers I feel have a lot more space and more freedom with PC than they do probably with past generation of consoles. I can't say for the PS4 or Xbox One, but with the the way that technology is advancing, at what point do Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony continue to generate hardware as opposed to just making software? Do the three of them jump on, into the PC bandwagon, or, Nintendo's been in this business for going on almost 30 years. Actually, probably about 30 years. They've done pretty well for themselves. And, they could easily just say, after the Wii U, kind of step back and keep going with the handheld market. Sony could do the same thing with the Vita, and, Microsoft, Microsoft's been around forever, so. But, I'm under the impression that all good things must come to an end. And at some point, a question has to be asked of where are we going? Because, there's talks about DRM, there's talks about, the cloud, there's, physical copy versus the digital copy. Like I said, you look at the technology with the way consoles are going, it's hard for me to look ahead 6-10 years from now and say to myself, well, yeah, we're going to have a PS5 or a Xbox 2 or whatever Nintendo wants to call their console, as opposed to companies just saying, you know what, we're just going to put it on PC. Because I feel like as technology advances, if consoles leave, then computers should relatively, become easier to access or more cheaper. And I mean, you look at households in North America, almost every, I guess, family, we'll say, or household has a computer at some point, be it a laptop or a PC. So it would be easy to distribute, in my opinion, that way as opposed to consoles. But obviously consoles have always been there because they're relatively cheaper. Not everybody can afford a $1,000 or $1,500 gaming computer, but they can easily go out to their local game store and get a $300-$400 system.
I think if Microsoft, Sony and Nintendo all went on to do things for PC rather than sticking with consoles, it might kind of develop a combat between systems they offer. So say like we've already got Steam and Origin, and Valve's the big one with Steam, and EA have got Origin. We might start seeing then a Microsoft service, a Sony service, a Nintendo service, all offering exclusives and such. And I kind of think that would be a good business decision, because it would mean people have more ready access to your to the titles that you're releasing. You could easily just download all of these systems, unless if it was subscription based, and get the exclusives from each one, so everyone will be able to indulge themselves, shall we say, in each of what the big companies are offering. So if they did that, I think it might be a good business decision and allow them to continue generating the same sort of profit they are from the console market while on PC.
So I have one last question for you guys before we end the show. So let's say the console market crashes and the big publishers start moving to the PC space. Do you think they can get away with trying to control that and make it less consumer-friendly since it's a more open platform, or do you think that the PC gaming community will just reject them entirely and they'll have to return to their previous, like... This is kind of an odd question, but like, what happens when console publishers have to go to PC and try all their tactics there, and that doesn't work, and then they get rejected? Where do they go from there? And if they don't get rejected, then what do you think happens to the PC space?
Well, I think Charlie brings up a good point in the sense of, let's assume that we're obviously in the future and the crash has happened. Obviously you have a lot of these companies. Most of them probably have already been developing for PC anyway, so that's probably not going to be a problem. The problem comes in where Charlie has said, where you have these three major corporations that have been around. What do? Do they do their own individual service, or do they go through someone else? Assuming, so it's more or less two possible answers, possible scenario. Actually, there's a lot of possible scenarios, but one scenario is what Charlie said, is that they individually do their own thing, but a part of me feels like if they do that, they'd have to be very careful, because while they would be able to produce games, that's going to put competition on, say, a service like Steam, where, for example, let's say, when BioShock Infinite came out, obviously you had the option of buying it for the console of your choice, but you could also go on to Steam and get it as well. Now, obviously, 2K got a part of the profit or whatever if you bought the game, but so something like that. Personally, what I would think would happen would be that I would probably assume that a lot of developers would probably go to services like Steam, services like what EA has. In terms of the community, I think the community is smart enough to not buy into, pardon my French, but bullshit from companies. I don't think companies are going to try and screw. Because at that point, it's pretty much, that the community, the PC community, is your be all end all, and if you toy with that, well, that's hard work and your dollars going out down the drain. At the same time, I feel like there would have to be certain limitations, because from a community standpoint, we're going to expect one thing and we're going to get something entirely different. And again, going back to what Charlie was saying, I think that you're going to see things particularly change. Not necessarily that each individual company would have a service, but you're going to have to. There's definitely going to be some competition. I mean, Steam would be like, "Oh man, we're going to make a fortune," and be able to jump in on this. But at the same time, I would imagine that there would be other companies out there that would probably try and do something. Because if not, like you said, Mike, we would be going back to another console console generation, and I don't think from a company standpoint you would want to do that, because clearly it didn't work the first time. Now you're going back and you're counting your losses, I guess. But I mean, it's hard to really predict, really, because as I said, it could go multiple ways.
Mm-hmm. It's really tough to see where this is going to go.
Very, very hard. Exactly.
All we have is hindsight. So is there
It'll be
anything
exciting to see what actually happens. You know, it's going to shake the gaming industry no matter what happens. So looking forward to seeing what happens and what the result of the big breakdown of console developers will produce, you know.
Well, when that does happen, I'll have my gaming PC, so I am really excited to see.
Yeah,
how
I will.
it
I will have my
burns
PC ready, so I mean that's fine. And hey, if Nintendo, like I said,
won't.
if Nintendo wants to back up, I got my 3DS.
Better
I got
start
my Vita.
saving.
We're good. So, but right now I'm enjoying the now. I'm looking forward to E3. I can't wait for the holiday season. You know, the Christmas of video games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, just be sure to follow us on onlysp.com. You can check out my most recent review. I reviewed Castle Storm. I highly recommend picking it up. It's available on Xbox 360 Arcade and as well as PC. So if you like Angry Birds mixed with like tower defense, I'd say pick it up. Yeah.
Sounds good. Charlie, anything you want to plug?
Just keep gaming, and if you guys want to listen to cheesy little sign off there, but if you guys want to listen to my podcast, my separate one, I work on it with a friend from Poland. It's Two Guys and Their Joysticks. If you look it up on Facebook, you'll find our page with links to everything. So just check that out. Check out OnlySP. Got a lot of great articles and brilliant coverage of E3 coming up. So keep posted.
And in terms of my plugging, our Twitter account is official_onlysp, and then I think on Facebook it's only
something like that.
player.
Yeah,
it's only single player on Facebook. And I am also doing my own little podcast. If you like the unprofessional stylings of the Lost Gamer podcast as opposed to this professional show, then you'll be happy to know that the Velocity Gamer podcast team has reunited for the video game Choo Choo. We can be found at VGChooChoo on Twitter, videogamechoochoo.tumblr.com, videogamechoochoo on Facebook. I bought a train whistle. $7 train whistle.
That's for sure.
It has ensued already. So yeah, if you like that show and want to hear me talk about video games in a manner that is not professional, that's where you go for that. And I will be on only single player all this week. And
yes,
all
you
next
tune
week,
in. I guess starting Monday, we will be covering E3 live as it happens. Not for the full day, but once the press conferences are over, we'll obviously discuss what our thoughts are. We'd love to hear what you guys think too. So I was actually going to suggest that if you do have any questions, submit them on our page or any of our stories or even on our Twitter, or let us know what you think about E3 too, because
I'm sure there'll be a post
absolutely,
about this podcast
once it's
up on
posted,
OSP.com.
leave us your comments, and who knows, maybe we'll include you on the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for listening,
That's
single
right.
players. You can tune in next. This goes up Thursday, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
was
I don't
when
know
we
how
agreed
the
it would go up.
live E3 show's
Yeah,
going to go.
I'm gonna swat all night trying
But,
to edit this together, and then I'll hopefully get it up for tomorrow,
Okay, so
which will be Thursday.
every Thursday we're going to have one of these, and Monday is when our E3 coverage will begin in earnest.
That's right.
So
Yeah, I don't want
join
to
us
miss it.
for that.
PlayStation conference, Xbox, Nintendo, the whole kit and caboodle will be there live. Be sure to follow us on Twitter because we're probably going to spam everything that gets reported, so you don't want to miss anything.
No, you don't. You don't want to miss when Microsoft says $599
Ridge
US dollars.
Racer!
Ooh.